For one of my mortgage customers, I helped them build the end-to-end ML model to reduce customer attrition by 2.5%, which added $3.5 million to their bottom line. So a little bit about, I apologize for the delay we had for tech issues earlier today, but I'll try to, you've come here to spend time with us today, so we want to make sure this is meaningful. This is a safe place for all of us to learn, grow, and share. So as much as I would like to share about Amazon Q today, I'm also here to, get your perspectives, get feedback from you, and learn from you as well, okay? So the way we're going to do it is we'll have presentation and demo. I was hoping to have like the last 30 minutes for you all to get hands-on and create a chatbot. But with time, we'll see how much we could do. At least I will show you how to create it on my screen, and then I can give you the lab environments, and you can do it at home. Okay? Before I get started, so Amazon Q is still in preview. It's not generally available yet, but I still want you all to know about it, so when it's available, you're ready to just hit the ground running. Okay, I'm assuming fact that you are all here, you all probably know generative AI. Anybody not familiar with what generative AI is? Raise your hand. Okay. So McKinsey, very recently had a study that this technology has the power to save at least 25% time for all of us here, right? And the way I look at it is this technology has the power to make like 4-day work week possible without impacting productivity or pay, right? A lot of our customers are also trying to use this technology very strategically, not to cut roles or anything, but, save costs to serve customers or drive more innovation or strategic sales as opposed to administrative or routine things. So one of the mortgage customers that I have, they recently, they're working on a AI-powered voice agent, and their goal is not to cut anybody's job, but to reduce that administrative burden on the bankers so they can spend more time on nurturing client relationships, which at the end improves customer satisfaction and helps them retain customers, right? Before we go further, I would like to hear what is your take, what are the things you have seen at your companies, or even if you have ideas of how you think this technology can help. Anybody? Yeah.
Capture all the key points that we discussed, and then just makes your life so much easier. Otherwise, you have to go back to notes and then do it. It's just super easy.
Every day, there is not a day or a moment that I don't use this technology at work. That's a great example. I do similar things too. Anybody else wants to share an experience? Okay. Before I go deep into Amazon Q, I just wanted to give you a high-level overview of the generative AI stack that AWS offers. So unfortunately, I'm hoping you can see my screen, right? Okay. So at the very bottom, it is our infrastructure layer, which is, highly performing, cost-efficient infrastructure for those companies or customers who want to do it yourself, like DIY, create LLM models from scratch, right? So we provide the necessary infrastructure to speed up that LLM development for training, for inferences, and things like that. The middle layer is Amazon Bedrock, and that is a managed service that we offer to make these LLMs easily available through an API for your applications in a very cost-effective, secured, and easy-to-use manner. And then the very top is really that application layer, that easy button of ready packaged applications that, with the power of your data, with your enterprise context, it can solve meaningful problems for your business. So that's the top layer, and I think we're going to spend all of our time on that top layer, but I just wanted you all to be aware of the entire stack. Okay. At Amazon, 90% of our services and features come from customer requirements and feedback, like all of you. So I will be very happy to hear your feedback too. What you see on the slide right now is the top 3 things that we have heard about this technology from our customers. The first one is accuracy, right? I had for that mortgage customer CIO tell us that, yes, we want to use this technology for, accelerating underwriting and things like that, but we're not there yet to use it for the end-to-end decision, because if we just rely on this technology, it means somebody's either getting a house or not getting a house, because that's the end mortgage result. So it has impact, right? And so everybody cares about how we can improve accuracy. And when we talk about accuracy, what they mean is, how do we use our data, our enterprise data, our business context, our customer context, to make sure it is producing the right results, or sending out the right responses to your prompts, right? The second thing that a lot of our customers, I haven't met any customer who said security is not important, right? And when we talk about security, think about the ocean of data you have in your enterprise. If LLM has access to all of that data, you don't want every employee to just see all of that data. You want to make sure they only see what they're authorized for. So if somebody's from HR, yeah, we want them to see performance reviews for everybody, but we don't want employee A to see employee B's performance reviews as an example, right? So there are a lot of other things that you need access controls that you have in place to be respected by these LLMs. You cannot just let them go loose. The other thing we always hear is controls, right? How do I make sure I have guardrails? Like, how do I make sure it is not, like, if I want to block it from responding about race, for example, how do I do that? I want to be able to have that control, right? And the last thing, everybody wants an easy button. Think about all the complexity. For those of you who may have played about it or read about this technology, the first thing is you have data all over the place, all over your systems. Yes, some of you may have central data lake, but the reality for most organizations is it's all over the place. Getting all of that data, indexing it, and making sure it is always updated incrementally or as needed, all of that is a lot of task. And then once you have it indexed, how do you make sure that you're respecting the access controls that you have, right? And then how do you make sure you code and call the right LLM, choose the right LLM? And I can keep going on, but the complexity for using this technology is pretty high, and this is new. Not everybody has the right AI ML skills needed to accelerate this journey. So every customer wants an easy button. These are the top things we have heard, and these were the basis of us defining the product that is in preview right now. I'm interested if you guys have heard anything, or you didn't hear what you were thinking is probably a blocker for you, or a challenge, or a top of mind concern. Anything? Or do the 3 things that I called out resonate with you guys?
Yeah. So it's like, I think the trust and reliable data is the fundamental building block, right? If you're sending garbage in, probably gonna get garbage out on the other side. And then there's like already so many news that we hear, especially in, let's say, in the insurance space, where I think Aetna or Cigna, they were rejecting so many patient claims based on a bot or based on AI that they had deployed. I mean, that is like ending up impacting real people. Mortgage is like another example where if you are not conscious about what you're doing, that you're rejecting a lot of people's applications. So like, how do you ensure all those kind of checks and measures are in place?
Absolutely.
That's not the only place. By talking about applications, there are applications, college applications, right? There are other types of applications where if they use these, or employment applications where these bots and these technologies being used to kind of prioritize CVs or prioritize applications. And how do you decide the rules for that? Because somebody has to decide the rules, right?
Yeah, that's a great example.
They're not true false. There is no set in stone rule. It's subjective, and you have to look at the whole application. And how can an LLM do that?
Yeah, great examples.
It can help, right? Make decisions about people's lives and how people do that.
Mm-hmm.
How do you do that? Oh, thank you.
Awesome. Any other feedback or any other comments? Anybody? Okay. So getting into Amazon Q, it has a suite of applications, so it's not just one thing, and I know some people were talking at the table back there. So let's start with Amazon Q for your business. So essentially what it does is it'll take your enterprise data and it will create a generative AI powered digital assistant for your employees using your data and your context. So you could ask it questions around your processes and policies. You can ask it to summarize emails, or imagine about anything that a digital assistant can do. So that is the Amazon Q for business. I will be showing a lot of demo about that product, and that is what we're going to talk about a lot today. The other thing we will touch, yes ma'am.
I just wanted to say, the first thing it surprised me that Amazon named this Amazon Q. Because I don't want that.
No.
Because the first thing I think of when I hear Q is QAnon, which is not a positive kind of connection. So it surprised me that they would have used Q and not chosen something else that might possibly have some negative connotations. That's just some feedback for me.
Yeah, that's good feedback. I will definitely take it to our,
They're probably not going to change the name at this point, but I think it's curious.
it's a good perspective. Thank you for sharing it. Okay, the next one is Amazon Q for AWS. So we have a lot of information about our own services and products over 17 years, and we've used our own corpus to make an easy button available, a digital assistant for AWS related things for you. So you can ask it questions like, what's the difference between EKS and ECS? Or can you give me a sample IAM policy for some access, right? That's the Amazon Q. So all the builders, if there are any builders in the room, I think that's something you should already be using. If not, it's all over the website, or as soon as you log into the console, it's available. And I will show you that a little bit today. The third one is Amazon QuickSight. So QuickSight is our business intelligence service. So with Amazon Q on top of QuickSight, you can ask questions to the dashboards. You can ask it to write stories or provide insights to make those dashboards more meaningful. You can even ask it to create dashboards for you if you're a QuickSight admin, right? So you tell it in a natural language processing, I want to see the sales data for last month by city, and it will create a dashboard for you without you having to click things. Amazon Connect. So Connect is our it's a technology that powers call centers and help desks. So with Q, it provides suggestions, links, suggested responses, etc., or actions to the agents when they are on the call with the customers to improve that experience and make it faster for the end customers. And then the supply chain is coming soon. So it will help our, if you have supply demand planners looking at inventory and stock and things like that, that's what the Amazon Q for supply chain would do. So I think the point I wanted to make is there are a lot of products, like you see, like a lot of components to Q. Q is not just one thing, it is several things. Today we will talk about Q for business, which is a general digital assistant for your business or your university or whatever. And I'll show you a glimpse of what Q does for AWS if you have not already seen it. Okay, some use cases. Now I know Q is in preview, but we have Bedrock and SageMaker and other services where a lot of customers have already use cases that have gone to production. So search, right? A lot of when we had the hype around this technology last year, everybody kind of wanted a easy search or easy chatbot. I know an insurance company in Canada, they improved their productivity 16x by having an enterprise-wide search made easy with generative AI. Accelerate content creation. So just last week, I was talking to a CTO of a commercial bank, and the very first thing that they're doing with this technology is write a weekly newsletter or an internal communication for all the updates that have happened in that week for the whole org, right? And they have a set format. The tone of the newsletter has a culture that is peculiar to them. So generative AI respects all of that and creates at least the first draft that they can quickly review, make updates, and send it to the org. Generating summaries, right? Anytime, there are so many use cases, but when you have agents and you have multiple contact points and interactions for your customers, if you just feed it into one repository and generative AI can create a nice summary of all the previous conversations. So when you're on the call with that same customer, you have the summary ready, and you don't have to dig through all of that information. And the last one, insights, right? You guys gave a lot of examples. How do we make insurance decisions, or how do we make mortgage decisions? How do we select profiles for candidates for universities and things like that? Anything that you have seen which is a little bit different from what I talked about, or you want to share any other use case, any use cases that you are pursuing or thinking about? Awesome. It can write SCP policies. It can write Terraform.
Beg to desire. There's a lot of holes in ours.
Yeah, and if there is a lot of interest from others in the community, the next meetup, or whenever we can get a slot, we could do a developer-focused session, hands-on. So we could take an example, you have a legacy Java 8 application. The people who knew the code really well have left the company. You have legacy debt, and you have new features that are supposed to be built. How can you accelerate the whole developer lifecycle? We can go through this sample like that, let's say in EC2 or Beanstalk or whatever, or containers, and walk you through how you can accelerate every step of that development cycle. So if there's interest from the community, I'd like to know, and we can take that as the next. Oh, love it. I see people raising hands, so.
Week.
Love it.
But at the end of the day, the only thing that the AI was helping me was to find tools to accelerate the transition rather than doing the transition of code for me. So it was very good at saying, hey, there is this new refactoring tool that was developed last year and I didn't heard of. And it gave me a bullet points how to do it. But when I started to ask him to change code, he didn't do a very good job.
Let's talk as a follow-up, or let's talk. I'm interested in that. I want to dive deep with you on that, because I've had some customers who've really. Yes, it cannot be perfect. It cannot be production-ready code, but it can give you the first draft in many cases. So let's talk. Okay, but I saw a lot of interest and excitement around it. So I'll work with Jamie and the Right Brain team to see if we can slot that as one of the next sessions. Okay, so let's get into Amazon. Yes?
Could this be used, I was thinking of ways to use this to create tutorials for students, for instance, to summarize it or create tutorials, examples for students for specific topics, maybe intro topics, so that then when they come to class, they do that at home, and then in the class we do other stuff and build on that or explain that in more details.
Love it.
So I think that could be, but that needs to be very specific, right? Because it's very specific to a topic. And I don't know how LLMs will do a good job of that. I know they're going to summarize things. They're going to give you a summary on a specific topic. But I would like a full-on tutorial. Introduce this concept, show an example with that concept, see how it's applied, something like that.
Do you have your own corpus in the university that, then it might have possibly promising results, at least for the first draft, and then of course you have to review and make sure it's all accurate and stuff like
So
that.
I see it being applicable there.
I love how you guys are thinking. Phenomenal. I'm learning too about how I don't have a lot of universities. I have all financial services customers. So these are great examples. Okay. So what you see on the screen, I keep looking at that screen, but what you see on the screen is what Amazon Q for Business looks like. So it is your digital assistant that uses your business context and provides responses. It can also have context from the conversation, right? So you can ask follow-up questions, or at the end you can ask it to summarize the whole thing so that you can capture it in an email and send it. One thing that I love and a lot of customers have asked for and love is source information. So when it gives you a response, it also has citations and links to the source information. That way you can fact check, right? It's not just, okay, it gave me some response that I cannot trust, right? And then it has conversation history, so you can go back to the conversation history and even have a follow-up conversation on any of those old ones. And I want to limit the slide. Let me just get into the tool and can you all see my screen? Is the size good enough? Can you all see it? Okay. So I am into Amazon Q console, but before I go there, what I did is I was looking at Avondale Gate Magnet School for my daughter, and so I created a quick chatbot to crawl this website and answer questions around the application process and stuff like that about this school. Okay, just to give you context, this is a public website of a school. I was just using it personally for my daughter, so I thought I'll use it just to give you how I can use that information for a bot. Okay, so I created this, and I'm going to this is not deployed in any capacity, so I'm just in preview mode. So this is what it would look like, right? Like it says, I'm your Avondale School bot, and you can ask me questions about the application process. So let me ask it, tell me a little about Avondale Magnet Gate School. Why should I consider the school for my daughter? And I've already crawled the information on that website, and it goes deep, not just on the parent, but it goes certain levels deep, and then it will respond based on what it saw on the website, right? Okay, so there. It says Avondale provides innovative learning, blah, blah, blah. The things I want to call out is, you see those citations, and if you see it provides the source information with links to from where it got that information. So you can trust it. It's just not random information from internet corpus. It is your corporate information. So like if you want to create something for your university or your organizations, you can feed it. It can just be limit responses even from what you provided, right? I can ask follow-up questions like, okay, what is the application process and timeline? So again, it will, so it's not very related, but like if you have related questions, it will keep that context and respond based on that, just like a human would, and not just, it does not only respond for that question. So there, it gave, the timeline is the application timeline is February 1st to March, and it gives the whole process and things like that. Now, if you want, quickly summarize the whole conversation and send it to someone in an email, you can ask it to do that. So summarize the conversation. So it's going to just summarize the whole 2 questions that we asked and the responses, and then you can just copy it and send it in an email or whatever. Oh, the demos always don't go, but you could do conversation summaries as well. I think you all got the point.
Is it doing it real time?
Yeah, this is a live demo.
No, I think it's live demo, but like, is it making calls call to the application in real time, like the website?
No, so so when you crawl that information, it's going to take all of that information and create indexes. When I query here, it's going to pick the right context based on the query, and then send that context to an LLM, and then LLM gives it a response, and that's what you see. So it's not going live and querying the Avondale website every time. You set the sync frequency. You don't want to keep doing it when there's no changes. So I did it on demand, and I only did it once. But if you have live data that changes, let's say once a day or multiple times a day, you could set that frequency. You don't want it to be querying every time.
Would like, I mean, so
I'll show you on the screen. Like, let me show you where, like,
So I think a question, my question is coming more from, like, every website these days will say, you're not a bot, kind of a checkbox, where like they trying to purposely avoid bots from reading information
Yeah.
and displaying or saving it somewhere. Do you have like a terms and condition kind of a scenario where if you're gonna go and read somebody's website and extract this information?
you have to be authorized to do it. You cannot just go to, yes, that will be, so basically you will be using your websites and your data, not somebody else's. I just, for a demo, use the schools.
I was just curious, like I can go to like public website and start
No.
crawling information.
No.
But then if they don't have the terms and condition where I can scrape their data off, then I'll be in trouble.
Yes.
I like your example, and it gave me an idea, and I'm wondering how much time did you spend to collect this data? Let's assume the website has some PDFs and the application form is in PDF format. Did you actually go beyond the HTML, or did you just use the HTML and you didn't look at the media that the website may have?
I created this in 10 minutes, and I will show you how to create it in 10 minutes today. So I think we have until 8, so I'm hoping we'll get to how to create something like this.
So instead of me, if I'm interested in this school, trying to find the answers to all the questions by going through the web pages, I can just go right to the bot and it'll give it back to me immediately.
Yeah, like University of UFM can have a bot on their website, and instead of searching the website and finding where
Right.
things are, they can provide a bot, and the bot will do all of that, and it's their data. They're authorized to use their own data, and it will show you that response.
And you built it in 10 minutes.
Yeah, and website is one example, which is the least used.
Sure.
Most people have like SharePoint, they have Confluence, or they have Salesforce, or they have ServiceNow for ticketing. You could connect to 40 plus these different connectors we have built for you, and you can make the magic happen, right? Like, you don't have to do the heavy lifting, and that's what I want to really show you, how easy it is. Even if you don't have any AI, ML background, data background, coding background, I feel like you all can use it. So that's the power. Like, it has the power to democratize this technology for everybody. So I think there's a lot of interest. I'm really hoping I can show you a demo. So I'm going to keep going. Okay, another thing that I want to show you is you can even attach files. So let's say you have a bot and you want to give it, let's say, I'm going to give it the Meetup slides and say, what is this document about? So it can even, oh, sorry, I'm just going to have to log in.
There's a little bit of a lag between what we're seeing.
And what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Thank you, good feedback.
Like 15 seconds maybe.
Now for your next trick, fix that.
Yeah. Okay. So what I was saying is, in addition to what you already feed it behind the scenes, you can even attach files in your conversation and then talk to it to summarize what that document is or what that document is about. And I can show you an example. So you click this button, and I'm going to give it the PDF of the presentation that I'm doing here, and I will ask it, what is this document about? So I just attached a document, and ask the question, what is this document about? And it's going to summarize or tell me what it is about. And I am in a sales org, like I'm a builder by trade and heart, but I'm part of a sales org. So when I'm talking to my customers and they have an earnings call or whatever, an earnings presentation, they're just so big, I always feed it into this generative AI bot and ask it to summarize, like, what are the key takeaways? And it did. Like, it said, this is a document about Amazon Q, AI assistant, Q's capabilities, blah, 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 right? So it just quickly told me what that document is, even without opening it or doing anything with the document. Okay. Is there something you'd like to share with the group too? Okay. No, you're fine. I thought you had a question or a comment or an idea.
I was talking about pricing and how there are common questions, but with a twist sometimes
Yeah.
about processes at the university, for instance, mass waves or anything like that, and they're free questions, and then they're asked by email, and this could help get that answer very quickly.
Absolutely. I love all the energy and all the use cases you have. One other thing that I'm absolutely love is, when you're having a conversation and when it not only has a conversation or summarize or answer questions, it can also take actions. Like if you wanted to open let's say you were troubleshooting an issue, you were chatting with the bot, and it gave you some ideas of how to troubleshoot. You can say, can you open a ticket, ServiceNow ticket with this information? So today we have like 4 integrations that you see: Salesforce, Zendesk, ServiceNow, and Jira. But in future, I'm sure we'll have more. So that's what it does. It automatically summarizes that information and creates a ticket, so you don't have to manually go and type it or copy it anywhere else.
Yeah, with Jira specifically, we use that at my job. So I definitely can see how that could be useful because we have to make Jira tickets all the time. So to have something where it would be able to make it automatically, that would help out a lot for sure.
You could just say, hey, can you create a Jira ticket, and this is the topic, and it'll create it.
I've tried the Amazon Q for the coding examples, but I just had one quick question because I was looking for it yesterday. Have you tried the Q chatbot with the service quotas? Like yesterday I had a question I had to answer, like, are we running out of these resource, that resource? Have you tried connecting to Amazon data itself for that account?
What? So related example, one of my customers uses that Amazon Q bot for AWS related things, but also their own context, meaning is Fargate allowed in my company? Can I use Fargate, for example? Or, what are the approved Terraform templates that I can use for my organization? So it'll look at your Git repo or wherever you have your Terraform, and it'll say these are the 7 approved templates that you can use for compute, right?
But this was using Amazon information, like I had to find out how many IPs were available in a subnet.
So unless it cannot have access to your account unless you give it access and unless you feed that information. The queue that you see on your console is what information we gave it, like.
Oh, so I have to connect it up that way.
Yes. So anything you want to do with your data, which is we can't connect your data. Like I don't have access to any of my customers' data at all, right? So if you want.
No, but Q console within the same account, the service quota is there, right?
Eventually, yes. If it is in the same and you have the admin access to review quota and you're doing it, I think eventually that's a good idea. And I think we will get there if it's not already available.
If you have Figma designs, could you feed it your existing code base and Figma and have it write Jira stories for what you need to do left? Sorry, English is my first language and I'm butchering it.
That's an interesting, I haven't done it or I haven't had a customer use it, but that's an interesting one to explore. Great idea. So you're saying reverse engineer the code and create a ticket? Or
Or a series of tickets. Like
to enhance it?
I have an existing code base. It's partially built out for this Figma series of Figma designs.
So you wanted to look at your Figma, whatever, like the storyboard that you have on Figma, and then, okay, it's 50% built. Can you compare what's remaining work and create tickets?
Yeah, exactly.
This technology has the power to do all of that. So even if I haven't seen, or we, none of us have seen it, I think it will get there. Somebody must be doing something like that. Love it. Okay, so I just love how creative you guys are all getting. So awesome group here. Let's talk a little bit about security, right? So left-hand side, you see some sources. It could be Google, Salesforce, SharePoint, whatever, right? We have 40 plus connectors already available. When we are ingesting that document, like all the documents from these sources, we are also ingesting the AC access control information from those sources, right? Some of them are very important, like SharePoint. I know I'm not an expert on SharePoint, but I know SharePoint has some local AC access control information, which may not be available in your identity provider. So it also ingests that information. And if you have time, I will show you a sample of how it looks at ACL information and only gives you access to what you're authorized to, right? So first step is it gets, in addition to the documents and content, it will also get access control information from the source. Then you can use any SAML compliant identity provider like an Okta or whatever you have in your organization to get the user and group information. Then let's say I'm one of your users in your company. I ask questions to Q. It's going to make sure it only gives me access to the information that I'm authorized to using the information from the identity provider and the source systems. So that's how it makes sure that, and you don't have to worry about all of this. It automatically does it. So you don't have to worry about leaking out information that somebody's not authorized to see through the chatbot, right? So if you have organizational access controls, it will respect that. And I really want to show you an example, so I'm going to. Okay, other fun things. So you have two options, right? If you were creating a bot for business and you wanted to restrict LLMs, so before I go there, LLMs are created from the corpus, the internet corpus, right? So they have access, like they've been trained with the public worldwide information available all over. But you want it to respond only with your business contacts. You don't want it, so for example, if I'm a mortgage, I have a bot for a mortgage company, I don't want somebody talking about weather. I don't want it to answer questions about weather. It does no harm, but I don't want to spend cycles and have them come to me for weather, right? So if you want to restrict it only to mortgage information, there is an easy checkbox that lets you say, okay, this is, you only limit it for, so let me just show you in the screen. Okay, so I'm still on my demo. If I go to admins, controls, and guardrails, you see here, if I edit the global controls, only produce responses, or responses will be limited only from your enterprise corpus. So it is currently checked, so it's not going to just provide general information about weather or anything. So if I ask the bot right now, give me information about the weather, it's not going to respond. It'll say I don't have that information. So let's just try it. What is the weather at Ann Arbor, Michigan? Because I have said don't respond from internet corpus and only use our business data, it will say, sorry, I could not find the relevant information to complete your request. Now, if I uncheck that box, it will likely tell me what the weather is for Ann Arbor, right? So you have that control. Some other things you can control. You can block certain words. I haven't blocked anything, but let's say if you want to say from your university, don't answer any questions about race or about bullying or sensitive things that you don't want it to answer, you can just simply block those and have a canned response. If somebody asks about race, just don't respond, right? Or if you're a financial services company and you don't want to answer some critical information, somebody's asking somebody's credit card, no, don't respond with any PII or anything like that. Whether you want to allow files, like, some customers, especially in the financial services, they don't want documents from my enterprise system to be sent out to anything like this, right? So you can just simply block files, right? So that's again a checkbox here, allow end users to upload files. You can, right now it's on, and that's why I was able to show you, but you could just turn it off and it will not allow files. You can also create like controls for a specific topic. And I see I have an example here. So I said, if there is any discussion about race, I simply want you to block it. So if you see, I said, if anybody asks about race, simply block it. But you have other options like answer using enterprise data or whatever, but simply block it. And this is the message it will show. I cannot help you because your admin has blocked it, but you can customize and tell them whatever message you want to display. And you can even control this information for users, for specific user groups.
About the race or a Formula One race when you just say the word race.
Interesting. So you have to be specific. This is a demo, and I just gave that example for a school, but very good. Yes, you have to be a little bit specific, right? Like you cannot, you're spot on. Like if you're talking about Formula One race and if you're NASCAR, yeah, you want it to respond about that, and in that case you won't want to block it. So you're right.
When you have homonyms, how do you tell the configuration use this homonym but not the other one?
So let's say if you're NASCAR, and one option is you just block it, but the other option is just respond from your corpus. So if I think about I'm NASCAR and I want to answer about Formula One races, I have one option to say, when you hear the word race, only answer using enterprise data. So it's going to look at NASCAR's race information and only answer that. It won't just say, I don't know the demographic, or it won't go outside that corpus, right? So that's one way that I could just think of. But I have, now that you asked me that questions, I went like 5, I clicked down 5, and I don't want to mention it here, but let's talk. You're raising a lot of interesting things that I want to talk to you about. But this is just one simple way, but there are other ways we can talk about it. Good questions. Okay, I think we talked about this. And then, yeah, this is, what you're seeing on the slide is list of all the systems that you can connect to. And as you can see, we've tried to not be limited to just Amazon products. It is, you could talk to Adobe, you could talk to Dropbox, you could talk to Amazon things, but Microsoft things or Google or whatever it is. And I'm sure these sources are only going to grow because we recognize that enterprise customers have data all over, and we need to have options to connect to all of that data and not just limited to one particular company. And that's really the power, that's one thing that really differentiates us. We're agnostic of where your source data is. So if you have it elsewhere, we are okay connecting to that data and bringing it here and indexing it.
Where is the index? And how big can it get? And don't we pay for it?
Lots of questions. So where is the index stored? So this queue will be in our service account, which is managed by Amazon, right? Your data still remains in your account. So if you have data in your S3 buckets, for example, that's still in your account. But since this is a ready managed service or an application, the service itself is managed in our account. You don't see it. It's like you just are the user of that service. Pricing, I can send you a link to the pricing page that is available. What our customers tell, this is cost effective compared to what they have seen elsewhere. So I will send you information to our pricing page. You had a couple questions. Did I miss anything? Okay. And I want to clarify one thing. We don't use any of your data to train our LLMs behind the scenes. So your data is yours. We are not going to use your data to improve our services or our LLMs that power Amazon Q. So that is all over, like, that's 100% guarantee security, and your data remains yours, right? So I want to be very clear if that was the question you were trying to ask.
Because the query is going to the LLM, right, in the cloud. That data then is held by the LLM. So it'd be our data, right, that we would have it query, and then explain those security protocols or how that data is protected that is accessed by the bot.
It's a very deep question, but I'm going to keep it simple. So are you familiar with retrieval augmented, the RAG implementations of LLM? So what it does is, let's say I ask a question about the application process, it's going to query your database, your data, for that relevant context, just the application process, and it will send it with the prompt to the LLM behind. Now that LLM that we have is not storing any of your data, it is just using it for that context to give you an intelligent response. So we are not storing or using any of your data. I'm going to send you links to all of that information after, but we don't use your data or any customer data either to save or to improve our services or LLMs behind the scenes. That is the number one premise. Like, security is job zero for all of us at Amazon, so it was built with that in mind up front. It is a very deep subject, though. I want to dive deep because I want to show you architecturally how that happens. So, in limited capacity. So what I can do is I can take a follow-up. I can write on an email and send you that information, or we can sit after 8 and I can give you more details. But I just want to assure and repeat myself. I know this is the third or fourth time I'm saying, we don't use any of your data or your IP and improve our services or LLMs. Your data remains yours. You leaving me? Just kidding. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm gonna send the links to the workshop. So even if you don't have it, you can use the link and run it yourself or do it yourself.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Sorry to interrupt.
Thank you for coming. Okay. I think that's everything about Amazon Q for your business. Now we will go a little bit into Amazon Q for AWS. So the information and documentation about our services, and then you can quickly ask questions related to AWS or generate IAM sample policies or whatever, right? So before we jump directly into the tool, this is a Gartner study, and what they've found is once the application is built and done, the developers are not done. They're still spending a lot of time to maintain those applications, and in fact 73% of the time is maintaining the applications and keeping them up and running and enhancing, and only 27% is development or enhancements or doing more valuable work for the business. So the technology is generative AI technology can really help you flip those percentages, so most of your time is spent on valuable code for your business and new features as opposed to keeping them up and running. And I'm only going to briefly touch it, but because there's a lot of interest, we'll take a deeper dive on just this subject next time. So this is just a high-level development life cycle. So everybody's researching, and by now I think everybody has used this technology to research about which Amazon AWS service should I use for what and things like that. When you are into planning and deciding, one of my customers, they give it their enterprise standards, controls, and policies. And let's say if I know, can I use CloudFront? Is it approved, or do I go Akamai, for example, right? The bot will tell you have to go CloudFront or whatever the thing is. Then when you're developing, we have services, and I'm going to jump a little bit. So for every stage of your development cycle, we have tools, generative AI support, that can accelerate your journey. Now, I know the gentleman there, it's not perfect, and it's not going to replace a human brain, but it gives you a boost and it accelerates. Like if you're new to something and you want to quickly get a scrappy code, like a draft, it'll give you that, and then you can, fine-tune it and make it production ready, right? I think it should give you back like 1 extra day in a week. So Friday should be off without impacting your pay or productivity for your company. That's how I think about it. I think the point is every development cycle, this technology can help make things easy and improve the experience for the developers. And before I go any further, I just want to quickly show you, let's say I'm on, everybody kind of was excited about, so when you log into the console and let's say you're doing something with IAM, there is this little icon here which is the Amazon queue, and you can say, can you write a sample IAM policy to give access to S3. And it can give you that. And you could do, instead of going through the documentation and searching and looking for things, this can really produce some quick things for you and give you some quick responses and help make your lives easy. Yeah, so here it gave you a sample, and it also has, the more important thing is it has source information with links, so you can click those and confirm that, yes, this is from where it is pulling that information, and it is an authoritative source. Okay, so so this is looking at AWS information and giving you AWS responses, right? So the first one that we saw was for your business. In interest of time, any questions so far? Because I want to spend some time to show you how easy it is to create the bot that you saw. Okay. So let's say I am a builder and I have access into the console for Q. I'm an administrator for this account. I just go here and type Q. It says Amazon Q. And what I'm showing you is how do I build a simple bot like you saw, right? If you have a company website, you want it to look at that website and provide simple responses. Or you have a corpus of documents, policy documents, procedure documents. You want to feed it to it and let it respond to questions for that. You can do all of that from here. And I can show you. So when you are in the Amazon Q console, you have to click this button, Create Application. So your first step you do is create an application. And I can say, it's a bot for a school, so I'm just going to say school bot. You have to just give it, you have to let it create a role, because Amazon Q accesses things like CloudWatch, right? Like it'll log things or, put metrics, so you have to give some access to it. And I will let it just create that role for you. And hit, and say create. So the first step is it is creating that application, it is creating that role, and then, in about 30 seconds or so, we should be able to go to the next screen. And what you do next is create a retriever. There are two options to do that. I'll just let it finish. And so up until now, all you had to do is give it a name, let it create a role, and hit the create button. That's all we've done in the first step. We are creating the application. It takes a few minutes. While it is doing that, after that, all you have to do is, where is my data, and connect it to those data sources. Essentially, that's all you're doing. And then, boom, you can preview it and start using it. Now, you won't do that in production capacity. When you're doing it in production, you have to deploy it, so you get a nice URL. You can put your domain and things like that. You need to have SSL certs and all the good things that you need for production. You need to connect it with the identity provider, SSO. But all of those things are really, really easy to do. If we had time, I really had planned a workshop. I would have given you AWS Lab accounts, and we could have done it step by step so you could have seen it. I don't think the time would allow it, but I'm going to send that information, and you could do it yourself as a follow-up. Okay. It let me do, so it's on the next step to create retrievers. Retriever is basically, it will create an index where it will, take all the data from your sources and index it so it can give meaningful context to the LLM. Now, it comes with a native retriever, which has all these different sources that we looked at. So Microsoft, Jira, Oracle, whatever, right? So what you see on the screen is a native retriever, or you can even use Amazon Kendra, which is another abstracted AI service that we have, which can connect to your sources and create the right index for you. So for this example, I'm just going to create a native retriever and hit next. I should have just hit next up front. Okay. Once you're there, now boom, you could select the data sources. So you could do a web crawler, you can have an Amazon S3, which is just dump any files that you want. Or you have these tons of other sources that you see. These are pre-built for you. You don't have to worry about the logic and what it takes to connect to those sources, get all of that data and all of that. You don't have to do all of that. So let's say we want to create a web crawler. Again, I want to be very clear. You have to be authorized to access a website. So let's say I'm going to create a web crawler for AWS.com or whatever. Okay, let's say, or I go to documentation and create. Okay, I want to just create it for this. All it asks for is source information, so I just put the URL. You can specify authentication, because most of your data will have authentication. If it's a publicly available, you could use no-auth, but most of it will have. You have to again select an IAM role, and I'm going to just let it create one. Okay, here, sync the main domain or sync domains with subdomains. So somebody was asking questions about how deep it can go. Should I just look at AWS.com, or should I also look at whatever, ec2.aws.com or other subdomains, right? The other thing is, how frequently should I do it? Should I be I think you asked that question. So should I do it on demand or hourly? You could set the schedule. So I'm just going to do on demand. That way I don't just keep going to the website and just do it when I need it. And that's it. I would just say add source. And that's all I had to do just to create that quick preview that you saw. Now with that, I will let it finish and then we can even quickly test it. This is not deploying to production. This is just connecting to the data and making sure the bot is ready to start answering questions. Once it finishes, I'll show you. You can test it, and then next step is just deploy it into production. And one of the most important things is connect to your identity provider and have that single sign-on and that publicly available URL or control URL in your environment with the right domains and things like that. That's it. The application is created. So as you see here, the school bot has been created. It uses the native retriever. It has not been deployed. Okay, now if you look at the retriever settings, it is essentially like an index. It has 0 documents, because if you remember, I said I will sync it I will sync the data source on demand. So it is still creating the data source, by the way. It is still creating the index, so that's why I don't have all of those options. But once this is created, I can just sync one time, and then it will crawl it once and get all of that data, and that's it. Unless I make it do it every hour or every day, it's not going to keep going and getting that information. So I'll let it finish. But essentially, that's it. And you can even, once a retriever is created, you can even do other data sources. So you don't have to just have one data source. Let's say we want to create, I want to just simply upload files. So I will click here, and I can just say choose some files, and I can just have all of these files added and upload. Okay, done. Okay, so when I uploaded, I still have 0 documents. I think I uploaded 6. So let me just quickly refresh and come back to the screen. In the data sources, I I think it's still not, so once I have like, the sync now option available, it'll take a little bit. It will have it will index those 6 documents, and the document count that you see here will actually change to 6, right? So just summarizing while it is working on it, 3 steps to create the bot. The first one was, create the application, give it a name, create a role so it can do CloudWatch and things like that. Second step was creating a retriever, which is essentially an index. And then the third step is connect to the data sources that you have, so it can start syncing documents. So essentially, that's all you have to do. You don't have to be an AI/ML expert. You don't have to worry about which LLM. You don't have to worry about how to connect and process all of that data and index it in the right way. You don't have to worry about syncing data, keeping it up to date. All of that is magically taken care of by this. So I'm going to just let it finish. Yeah, it's still working on it. Well, those were the 3 steps, and then you have to just deploy it to production and connect it to your Okta or your identity provider to make it production ready. But that's it. That's all it takes. So the bot that I was showing, I just did this much, and that's why I was able to do it in 10 minutes. I didn't make it production ready because I didn't, have the SSL certs or identity like SSO. I didn't have all of that. It was just a demo for today, but essentially that's it.
Let's say we do this. How much would it cost every day to keep this bot running?
First of all, it is utility, right? So pay per use, per user per month. So it's not like you have to buy licensing or anything like that. You pay this month, and next month, if you don't want it, you don't use it. So I'm going to send the pricing information to you.
For this website, like you just created, if you have the numbers for keeping it up for a day, do you have an estimate there how much it costs?
Yeah, let's see.
Since you are in the AWS account, you have that number ready for us.
Yeah, so if you look at the Amazon queue for business, if you see my screen, it is $20 per month per user.
It doesn't matter how many you have. Like, I'm confused about the data and like.
Oh, if your data is in S3, you pay for S3. Right? If your data is in Redshift, you pay for Redshift data. This is just for the bot, like the. Yep. I will send all of this information, or it's available publicly. You can all Google it. I think more important thing that I want to share is, if you want, you can take this right now. So this QR code will take you to a link which has a lab, which will walk you through all the steps that I showed you and also help you deploy in production capacity. So if you want, you can take this QR, scan it, or take the link. This account, you can also, I have AWS accounts that you can use, and all the instructions are very clearly detailed in that. You can create your own bot in our AWS account, and it'll be available until, I think, tomorrow, 2 p.m. So if you want to just take the link and the QR code, and if you have questions, I'm more than happy, send me an email, and I will be more than happy to respond. Or if you have your AWS account team, they'll be more than happy to help you through your questions. I wish we didn't have the tech challenges, because I could have, given you all the accounts now, and we could have just created the bot at least up until halfway through. That would have been fun. Okay, and then that's all I had. I hope it was a very enthusiastic group, a lot of bright ideas. I'm definitely going to follow up with a couple of you on topics. Any questions or? Okay. If you don't mind, before you just go do the other QR code, that's for the survey, so I get feedback of what you like, what you do not like. So if you need anything, just, or if you I could have done better in any way, just give me feedback and I would appreciate it. And I definitely have, I love that we have topics for the next time. I'm going to focus more on the builders, the developers and stuff like that. And maybe we just, one other time we did we broke the meetup into two. One was presentation like this, and then the second meetup for the 1 or 2 days later, it was a hands-on. So maybe we do something like that. That way it allows for more time and we can really dive deep. And I can answer detailed questions that were coming up. Thank you.